Good evening and welcome to the regular meeting of the Independent City Council for Monday, October 19th, 2020. Our invocation this evening will be offered by Joey Candio, pastor of Grace Church. If you would please stand for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let's pray. God, we just want to thank you for tonight. Thank you for the leaders in our city. We love this city and we know you do too. I pray that you would give them wisdom as they try and sort through some of the things that they have to deal with from a business standpoint. We do pray this has been a difficult year for everybody, and I do pray that you keep everybody safe from COVID-19 and just give them wisdom on how to deal with all these things and help this meeting to go well tonight. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam City Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilmembers Huff.
Here.
Perkins.
Here.
Stewart.
Here.
DeLucy.
Here.
Steinmeier.
Here.
Hobart.
Here.
Mayor Weir.
Here. We do have several citizens who requested to speak tonight. Two of them are non-residents, so I would entertain a motion to suspend the rules of order to allow them to speak to the council this evening.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff.
Yes.
Perkins.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
DeLucy.
Yes.
Steinmeier.
Yes.
Hobart.
Yes.
Mayor Weir.
Yes. Motion passes. Our first speaker tonight is Laura Dominic, who requests to speak to the council regarding bill number 20793, residency requirements. Ms. Dominic.
Mayor and City Council members, thank you for coming and letting me speak tonight regarding Resolution 2793. My address is 3525 Blue Ridge Boulevard in Independence, and I'm a member of the Personnel Board for the city as well. I hear council members say at least every other meeting, if not every meeting, something to the effect of, first, why is this an emergency? As Councilman Hobart said 2 weeks ago, paraphrasing, there has been no fact articulated as to why this is an emergency. Technically, it hasn't been labeled as an emergency because it's a resolution, but clearly the councilmen who proposed this resolution think it must be done right away for some reason, which is not obvious to me. I also hear the PUAB hasn't had a chance to review this and provide advice to the council. There's a process for this, and we should follow the process and stop shortcutting it. Well, in this case, the Personnel Board, also appointed by you, the council, has not been informed of this, let alone had a chance to review it and provide advice. And when I say it does not include a study or analysis. It is merely a demand from the City Council. Put a pin in that thought. The big one I hear, which is very important, is we have to follow the charter. So looking at the charter, section 3.32 says, the council by motion or resolution shall adopt and may change personnel rules consistent with the charter and the ordinances of the city. However, that section further states the city manager and the personnel board shall have the right to make recommendations or to be heard on the personnel rules and any changes therein before the council adopts them. As I said a second ago, the Personnel Board has not even been notified of this proposed change to the policies and procedures. I'm stating for the record tonight that I am exercising my right as a member of the Personnel Board to be given a chance to review and make recommendations on this issue before the council votes on it. Further review of the charter states in section 3.3, the city manager shall be chief administrative officer and head of the administrative branch of the city government. And in section 2.5 also goes on to say, council members shall deal with the administrative service solely through the city manager. And the charter puts teeth in this section where it states, if any council member violates any provision of this section, said council member shall be guilty of a misdemeanor and upon conviction thereof shall be punished by a fine of not less than $25 nor more than $500. Any such conviction of any council member shall be cause for removal from office, and council members shall be automatically removed by the said conviction effective at the expiration of the period during which he or she may appeal, or in case of appeal, when the case is finally determined. All prosecutions for violation of this section shall be instituted by the prosecuting attorney of Jackson County. I can conclude with another paraphrase from Councilman Hobart. Whether we like it or not, our feelings don't matter. We have to stop thinking we have the right to do whatever we want. That needs to end tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Garland Land, who requests to speak to the council regarding Bill number 20794, COVID-19 restrictions. Mr. Land.
Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. My name is Garland Land. I live at 22704 Northwest Ashford Court in District 3. I wish to speak in opposition to the COVID-19 resolution. I am retired but worked for the State Health Department for 34 years. I have a master's degree in public health and biostatistics. After retiring from the State Health Department, I served as the executive director of a national association in Washington, D.C., representing all state health departments. I only mention this because I have a lot of respect for public health professionals at the local, state, and national levels who are trying to protect the public's health. Our family is a great supportive of local businesses. We do not buy online. Recently, I bought a new van, a new barbecue grill, and a new riding lawnmower. I considered buying outside of Independence, but chose to support local businesses. However, I must admit that if this resolution passes and you are successful in suing the county health department to no longer require masks or social distancing in Independence, we will no longer shop in Independence. We will not do this out of spite, but we will do this because of our gray hair and our high risk of getting seriously ill from the virus. Friday, my wife went to the mall and bought new fall clothes. She commented when she came home that most people wore masks, but one young person's mask just protected his chin. I guarantee you, if my wife had walked into that store and saw most people without a mask or a mask just protecting their chin, she would have walked out of that store and would have driven to another city and shopped there where she felt safe. Even Chris Christie has admitted that it was a mistake to not require a mask at the White House event in which he became infected and was later hospitalized. If implemented, this resolution will do 4 things. First, it will increase community spread of the virus. Second, it will cause more workers to become infected and have to stay home from work. Third, it will result in more families like ours who stop shopping in Independence because of the fear of being infected due to the lack of mask wearing and lack of social distancing. Fourth, it will lead the Kansas City media to brand Independence as an anti-science community. They will run stories every time there is a rise in infection or hospitalizations and relate the change in infection to your action. We're all concerned for our local businesses. When we lived in Jefferson City, we owned a small business at the Lake of the Ozarks. So I have great empathy for small business owners. But this resolution is not the answer to help our small business owners. There are better ways to help our small business owners that would not risk the health of our community. I urge you to not approve the COVID-19 resolution and instead appoint a multidisciplinary task force to bring recommendations to the City Council on how the city can assist local businesses without harming the public's health.
Thank you, Mr. Land. Our next speaker is Sarah Wimberly, who requests to speak to the council regarding Bill number 20794, COVID-19 restrictions.
Good evening. My name is Reverend Sarah Wimberly. I live at 615 North Union Street, just a few blocks over from here, sorry. And I am a United Methodist pastor. I've been a resident of this city for 23 years, pastored a church up until July in Inglewood, and am now over by Randall School and Hawthorne Housing in Susquehanna. And so I come here tonight also as the president of the Independence Ministerial Alliance, and I come to talk about this resolution. This resolution is a bad idea, period, because it ignores the facts and what is happening in the community and the science advice from the best medical professionals in the world. COVID-19 report that you received or should have received this before this meeting should be sufficient to show why opening up the city at this time would be wrong. The report will show there's over 3,500 Independence residents who have tested positive for COVID-19. Just recently, my church was host to a testing on the 9th of October, and we will be doing it again on the 30th for anybody that catches it in here or wherever. But this is what is happening, and there are a lot of people who are not getting tested yet who obviously are either asymptomatic but have it or are at great risk. But also look at what's happening to the employees of the city. There are 32 confirmed cases among city employees, including police officers, firefighters, utility workers, public works, and others. A month ago, there were 16 confirmed cases, so that's twice as many. Simple math shows the number of confirmed city employees has doubled in the past month, but it also goes against the public health and medical advice of those in our community, in our region and state and national, to open or to threaten to open with the threat of a lawsuit. The resolution also goes against your own advisory board of health. And there is no vaccine available, we know that. And there's great fear and paranoia around the mention of a vaccine among some populations, so even if there were, we might have an issue there. At this time, as you know, contact tracing is only getting ramped up. We're in a hot spot. They're saying it's code red for Missouri on all the TV ads, so it must be true. This resolution would open up the city when public health considerations and science suggest otherwise, and that's the important thing. Now, our lives are disrupted. On that, we can all agree. I've only met one person out of probably hundreds who likes to wear these, and that's because he's a little insecure and it covers up his face or something. But we also know our lives are disrupted in other ways. Of course, we're not going to have a Halloween parade probably. Our Thanksgiving is likely going to be different. I don't know how my family will eat with masks on. And same for the Christmas holidays. Our faith-based institutions are adjusting and finding new ways also. My church reopened, but it's a strange setup where everybody is 6 feet apart and they have to go in one door and they can't go out the same door they came in. Other churches are still not yet reopened. They're doing it virtually. But we feel like, we churches, that it's safer to do that than to put our people at risk. Opening the doors and causing an uptick in cases, whether it's kids bringing it home or older adults or however it might be spread, would not be wise for the city. It would actually be cruel and maybe even a sin, frankly.
You have 1 minute.
Okay, so it solves nothing but gives a little bit of comfort to a few people who feel like they have to do something about this if you pass the resolution. That's why I say, please defeat it.
Thank you, Reverend Wimberly. Our next speaker is Dr. Bridget McCandless, who requests to speak to the council regarding Bill number 20794, COVID-19 restrictions. Dr. McCandless.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Bridget McCandless. I am an internist, which means I'm an adult medicine specialist. My background is that I ran a free health clinic in Independence for 15 years. I was on staff at Independence Regional, at Truman Medical Center, at St. Mary's Hospital. I have spent my career taking care of the most vulnerable folks in this part of the city, And so when I heard about the resolution, I had to come and speak to you. I need to let you know, I hate wearing my mask. You can see the steam on my glasses. It's annoying, it's inconvenient, it's a pain in my butt to have to go back inside when I forget my mask and bring it with me. I don't like it, I can't see people smile, I don't know what their faces are doing. I hate my mask. And that's from somebody who wore a mask for a long time as part of my job. That's too bad. It's just too bad. There are 218,000 people in the United States who are dead. There are 3 times that many who have been infected and are going to carry long-term consequence of COVID. Missouri's rate of COVID is on the rise. We are now the 7th highest in the United States in our rate of COVID. We've still been incredibly lucky. We have not lost nearly the number of people that the East Coast has. And so we need to preserve our ability to keep the safety that we have. I have to say thank you to the Independent School District for keeping our kids safe. I need to say thank you to the businesses who work hard to make sure that folks wear their mask, that there's sanitizer available. I want to say thank you to the healthcare workers who go to work every day with the risk that they're going to come home and bring that illness home to their families. I want to say thank you to the government who does what is unpopular and asks people to do things that are inconvenient and annoying. And I am willing to be sick and tired. I am willing to be annoyed. I am willing to be inconvenienced because the stakes are just too high to do anything else. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. McCandless. Our next speaker is Dr. Terry Morris, who wishes to speak regarding the COVID-19 resolution. Dr. Morris.
Mayor Weir and council members, I appreciate the opportunity to visit with you tonight. Like Reverend Wimberly, I used to live a few blocks from here. I moved a year ago this week and now live at 2730 South Brentwood Drive in Independence. I practiced medicine in Jackson County for about 45 years. The last 41 years were here in Independence in eastern Jackson County. I'm honored to have been asked to serve on the Health Department Advisory Board. This is my 2nd term. I requested a few minutes to address the council regarding sections 1, 2, and 3 of the proposal that advises eliminating all restrictions in COVID-19 recovery policies in the next 30 days. While I certainly support local businesses and schools and organizations during this most challenging time, I'm compelled by the oath that I took on graduation from medical school to prevent disease whenever I can, for prevention is preferable to treatment. The purpose of mask-use, hand washing, social distancing protocols is to prevent disease when possible and to slow the spread of disease when prevention cannot be accomplished so that medical facilities are not overwhelmed. If I wear an appropriately constructed mask, and you have to remember not all masks are constructed appropriately, I have a 70% reduction in my chance of contracting COVID-19. If I meet a COVID-19 carrier and they also have on an appropriately constructed mask that covers all the parts of their face it's supposed to cover, I have a 90% reduction in chance of catching COVID-19. That's not too bad. Unfortunately, a recent study last week showed that only 59% of Missourians wear masks in public. I went to a track meet in a town north of us last weekend, and I was in about the 15th percentile for wearing masks. Guidelines for use of PPE, hand washing, sanitizing, and social distancing aren't created by the cities for the most part. They're not created locally. They come down from the CDC and OSHA. The goals of pandemic guidelines are to reduce the incidence of infection and COVID-19 related illnesses and death. Studies estimate that 40% of adults over 19 have some pre-existing risk factor that increase their risk of death from COVID-19. All you have to think about it is my belt size higher than it was in high school? Do I have high blood pressure? Do I eat everything I should? I believe the city's position should be to help protect those citizens at risk. New coronavirus cases in the United States continue to climb in recent weeks, with more than half of the states reporting a rise in recent days. The daily count for new COVID-19 cases totaled more than 52,000 last Tuesday. Hospitalizations have reached the highest level in months. And the 1,443 new hospitalizations in Missouri last Thursday set a weekly record, or a daily record. Missouri's data dashboard shows that Missouri is the 10th highest in the country for new cases over the last 7 days, and the 7th for deaths. This is not an improving situation. Today, the KC regional dashboard numbers show we continue to hospitalize over 100 new COVID patients every day. That's our area. 92 patients are in the metro are requiring an ICU setting, and 2 COVID-19 patients die every day. It's 14 per week where we live. One hopeful note is that local admission numbers last week were slightly lower than the week before, but the big concern is last week we only did 10,000 tests. That's 44% of the number of tests we did the week before.
You have 1 minute.
All sources show an increase in COVID-19 cases nationwide. This pandemic is certainly not over. I've never personally jumped out of an airplane with a parachute, but I have friends that have, and when I've talked to them, they say there's this tremendous feeling of relief when the canopy opens over you and you start to slow your fall to earth. That's not the time to take off your parachute. So I would encourage the City Council to continue current precautions and analyze actual epidemiologic data when it becomes available so that we truly know when it's safe for the citizens of our community to take off their parachutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Morris. Our next speaker is John Welchert, who wishes to speak to the council regarding loggers' retirement, Cigna health insurance. Mr. Welchert.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, City Council. My name is John Welchert. I'm the secretary for the Loggers Retirees Group. I have a concern. My concern is based upon the fact that regarding the employees in the age group from 55 to 65 who are under the Stay Well healthcare plan, which is approximately 292 retirees. We've watched the past committee meetings for the Stay Well Committee. They've all been a virtual type meeting. It's hard to understand the meetings. It's hard to get the information correct. We have no ability to ask questions. And our concern is that the next meeting has already been posted for the Stay Well Committee meeting is October the 21st, and a follow-up meeting is October the 28th. We were here at the last council meeting requesting those meetings to be in person. Apparently they haven't been able to accommodate that. It's still going to be a virtual meeting on the 21st. Not sure if we'll be able to understand it. We won't have the ability to ask questions. We don't have the ability to properly represent those 292 retirees in that Stay Well healthcare plan. Open enrollment is coming up October the 26th. I don't know how that's all going to work out because the last Stay Well committee meeting that we watched, they made some presentations about out-of-pocket expenses and other expenses pertaining to this group of retirees that are in the Stay Well plan. But the Stay Well committee reviewed that information and did not come forward with any recommendations whatsoever. So at this point, we have no idea about any healthcare changes, cost, or anything else that's going to involve these 292 employees that we represent. So once again, we would like to ask for in-person meetings with this Stay Well committee group. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Welchert. Our final speaker this evening is Bob Sorensen, who wishes to speak about post-65 insurance premiums and false misleading information. Mr. Sorensen.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. I didn't expect to come here tonight and have to speak, but there's been some problems I think you all need to be made aware of. In regards to the post-65 health insurance, I'm going to try to make this fast because I know I have 5 minutes. September 23rd, our group, myself, John Welcher, Marla Kimsey, met with Adam Norris and Jennifer, I forget that last name, I have it written down, Vargo from the city, and we discussed health insurance premiums for post-65. At that time, we were presented a thing from Cigna in regards to increases they were looking at for the 3 health plans that post-65 people were to address. There was also a discussion about an administrative fee. We had an issue with that. We re-met with Adam and Jennifer again shortly a few days later. We discussed the administrative fee, and then we also were discussing what was going to go out to the employees. And at that time, Jennifer made mention to us that they were preparing packets and stuff for the open enrollment, and she wanted to know if I would appreciate if she would send it to me and I could go over it, see if there's anything I agreed with or disagreed with before it was mailed out. And I said that would be a great idea. Well, following that meeting, I had more discussions with Adam in regards to the administrative fee, and the administrative fee was done away with, which we were happy with. We saw the rates that were coming down, and we agreed that those rates that Cigna had proposed would be the rates. I thought everything was fine. Then, on last Friday, an email was sent out from HR stating to all the retirees what their rates were going to be. That email that came out had all the incorrect information. All the rates were wrong, were not what was agreed to. I definitely saw a problem with that. I immediately emailed Adam Norris on that night, told him what had happened. He said he hadn't seen that, but he'd look at it, and they should not have been on there. The rates were as we agreed to. He said he would get back with me. That was on Friday. So this morning I emailed Adam again and asked him if there had been anything done on the rates that had been put out, since they were wrong, to all the members. And also in that email from the Friday from HR, it said, with these rates that came out, they said the packets would be going out this week to all the retirees, making it sound like the packets hadn't been sent out, only the email. I emailed Adam this morning. He said he was in negotiations. I understood that, and he said he would get Jennifer to get a hold of me or whatever. I also left a message with Mr. Walker that I needed to speak to him about this, because this was very confusing. The information that was being given out was wrong. So shortly after that, today, a new email came out from HR, and I have the copies of all these things, and it said that the rates had been posted wrong and they were being corrected. This email contained 2 tabs. One tab you went to, it was exactly what we'd agreed to. Then when you went to tab 2, it was a whole different rate again. Didn't explain why the 2s didn't match up. If I was reading it and I didn't know because I was so involved in this, I didn't understand any of it, I would be now total confused. I've received 2 emails in 2 days, working days, and I've gotten 3 different rates. This just won't work. Then I go to my mailbox. And what's in my mailbox? But it's the packet from the city that was supposed to be mailed out this week. Well, needless to say, if I got this in my mailbox today, it was mailed out last week. All incorrect information, all incorrect rates. So now all the retirees that live all over the United States, Florida, Arizona, wherever you want to go, they've received incorrect information.
You have 1 minute.
The same thing we went through last year until we resolved our problem in December. Jennifer called me today. She apologized and apologized and apologized that all this incorrect information went out. We're going to correct it. It was corrected an hour or so before I came to council. An actual email came out from HR with the correct rates. But I don't know what people have read. I don't know what confusion. And I know they got these packets in the mail. Now the city's going to have to pay for another mailing to send out correct information. And for those that you don't know, police and fire have a way to go through loggers through our retirement system that we pay a different tax rate on our health care. I know for a fact that a lot of people are like me at my age. I get a bill today in the mail, I fill out the check, and I send it tomorrow. People got this email on the 18th. If they went to their logger's website, and changed their premium so it would be deducted correctly, they gave loggers the wrong amount. This could create a nightmare. There's no reason for this. Had I been provided the information like I was told I could be before the stuff went out, I could have made sure it was correct before it ever went out. It is so frustrating. I had to come here and tell you this, but you all need to be aware that this is what's happened, and it is wrong. It is wrong to these retirees. I appreciate your time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sorensen. Those are all of our speakers who signed up this evening. Is there anybody else present who wishes to address the council this evening? Okay. Mayor Pro Tem, this takes us to the consent agenda.
I move to approve the reports and recommendations of the city manager.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any items any council member wishes pulled for separate consideration?
793 and 794.
Okay. Any others? Okay, Madam City Clerk, will you please call the roll on the consent agenda minus Resolution 20793 and 20794?
Councilmembers Huff,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
DeLucy,
Yes.
Steinmeier,
Yes.
Hobart,
Yes.
Mayor Weir.
Yes. Motion passes. Councilman Huff, 20793.
2973, okay. I agree with Mr. Sorensen about the misinformation. This is getting to be pretty constant here lately. On this residency request or resolution, we ask if this is any kind of violation to the charter, any violation anywhere from staff, and was vetted and was told there was nothing there. Since then, the city attorney has emailed me stating that, in her opinion, that this could be a charter violation. I'm not one to be a charter violation or violator. So I've done some research. I've got some other people looking up some case study. Kansas City has a similar ordinance, council approved. So I'm going to be working on that, but I would like to make a motion to table this indefinitely until I get some more information.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to table 20793 indefinitely. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
DeLucy,
Yes.
Steinmeier,
Yes.
Hobart,
Yes.
Mayor Weir.
Yes, motion passes. Councilman Huff, 20794.
794, once again, misinformation. This was very, very poorly written, as far as I'm concerned. I myself, nor Councilman Steinmeier, have ever said anything about no mask and all this other stuff. We've been talking up here since March about how we're going to take care of this small business. I wear my mask everywhere. I'm not saying not wear your mask. I'm not saying this thing is way out of proportion. Once again, misinformation. Knowing this resolution was not very popular with some, it's my duty to support Councilman Steinmeier. The resolution was meant to startle and shake up everyone before Independence wakes up to our small businesses closing doors in record numbers. We are failing many constituents if we do not listen to independent small business owners and concerned citizens employed by these businesses. They are asking us to proactive and brainstorm a possible solution to normal business with PPE and safety procedures. We've reached out to Councilman Steinmeier in the last couple weeks, asking for some input from the other council members here and the mayor, of no avail. We've had a couple talk about it, saying that they really didn't like the legal aspect of it, so I'm going to take care of that here shortly. I want to say, remember those who didn't even care to discuss this at the council. You know, making statements on social media, likely being silent and dare not to discuss this in this forum. But at least many of the constituents that has contacted me and helped me with this issue know I listened to them. And I brought forth possibilities for discussion and the need to create new policy for business to end COVID. Just a little side note here. Blue Springs has a similar one, just like this. No one's asking to remove the mask. It's to open up these businesses to 100% so these people can make a living. You know, when this COVID thing finally gets finished, and I just don't understand how this city is going to fulfill their obligations to these retirees and these promises made. I don't know where you're going to get this money. You know, if we go another 220 days without opening these businesses, these small businesses, I don't know how they're going to make it. You know, it's amazing. I go to, you know, this is this cherry pick stuff. We can go to the grocery store. We go to Walmart. The place is packed. J.C. Penney, you couldn't even get in the door. There were so many people. No enforcement, not wiping down carts. But everybody seems to think that when you get to the front door, the virus is gone in these places. I don't understand people handling groceries, the food, the cans, and the meat, and you take it home with you. But we're just talking about opening up a small business around here so they can survive. No one's saying anything about any mask. I don't know where this misinformation is coming from, but it certainly isn't from this councilman or Councilman Steinmeier. And I make a motion to remove the legal thing against the county, any kind of lawsuit against the county, and that's all I have to say.
A second.
The motion is to amend, to remove the language referring to the legal action against the county. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff,
Yes.
Perkins.
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
DeLucy,
Yes.
Steinmeier,
Yes.
Hobart,
Nope.
Mayor Weir.
No. Motion passes. Councilman Huff.
I move to approve, what number is it?
20794.
2794, 20794.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Discussion.
Sorry, I do, Madam Mayor. I had a bench trial today and I almost called you judge again, so.
That's okay.
I want to read part of an email that I got from a person that lives in my district. It's been a long day, and I appreciate Miss Dominic reminding of some of the things I said a few weeks ago. Even if one were to ignore the fact that the resolution is contrary to science, financial realities, and the proliferation of the virus through our city's population, this resolution does more harm than good. In a time when public support for the necessary additional restrictions might be waning with some populations, this resolution serves little purpose than to further fan the flames when the science is clear. As Truman once said, my definition of a leader in a free country is a man who can persuade people to do what they don't want to do and like it. We're at such a crossroads now. By embracing science and doing our best, our city might be able to achieve this. This resolution does the opposite. In short, I think it's reckless. And I want to add, Councilmember Steinmeier often talks in this subject about being courageous. The definition for me of being courageous is doing something you don't want to do in service of others. I do not support in any way this resolution, and I will be voting no.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I appreciate your words. I've been inundated with emails with misinformation, and those who had the courage to put their phone number at the bottom, I called every one of them. Called every one of them. And I found out that the language was so familiar that I finally started asking questions. Have you even read the resolution? Because it was always about masks and the fear, and I said, have you read it? And many admitted they had not. And I said, well, where did you get this information? And I found out it was a concerted effort with a Zoom meeting that somebody orchestrated in this city and was putting out a lot of information that was inaccurate. And I told them there's nothing that mentions a mask in any of this. and had the gentleman go down to his computer and read it to me. He didn't find it. And he says, well, I still stand by my concern. And I said, you know what, I share the same concern. Mitigating the virus is the biggest challenge in this city. I wear a mask. We've had COVID in my house. I find it to be insulting when people think I don't have a compassion for the most vulnerable in this community. I just find that to be just so irresponsible. Whether it was an orchestrated effort, whether it was coming from the dais, that's fine. You can have your opinion. It's fine. I'll respect that. My quandary is, and I appreciate those who emailed me, and after a while, when those people would talk to me and they would go, well, you know, I think we agree on some things and maybe not on others. I said, that's fine. I just want to have a dialogue. That's all. That's all. But I've been called some horrible things. And my heart has always been to just get the county's attention to talk to us. 3 weeks ago, our mayor said she was tired of the county not responding to her. She's asked questions. She can't get any answers. That's how I feel, too. I don't feel like the county's answering us. I'm not asking anyone to walk around without your mask. I have an 80-year-old mother. I take her out. We wear the mask. If we don't feel safe, we go home. We go someplace else. We've had COVID in my household. So I understand what it looks like and what we had to deal with. My whole heart and purpose in this, I know you hear me say that, but I have a purpose. It's to stand up for the people that I know and love, and those are small business owners. My parents were small business owners in this community for almost 40 years. I know the cost of COVID. My father died in April. We couldn't celebrate his life. We couldn't memorialize his life. We couldn't have people come, say nice things about him. And that was a man that deserved to have nice things said about him. I'm not a science denier. I mean, I was called everything but a flat earther this week. Why not, right? Where's the compassion? My compassion is not just for the most vulnerable, but it's for the littlest in this community too. It's for every business owner who's got their lives at risk, and I'm glad that retirees can wake up every morning and you can protect yourself in different ways than we can, and I'm grateful for that. But the average age in Missouri is 38 years old. Do they deserve a future? Do they deserve to be able to provide for their families? I reached out this afternoon, spent 45 minutes with a man who's owned V's Restaurant for 54 years. Not in my district, but I called him because he's got a lawsuit. He's trying to recover from an insurance company that's fighting tooth and nail to not have that insurance umbrella breached by a bunch of small business owners that they have to pay. And I love his attitude. Let me tell you some of the things that he told me. This man has been the head of the National Restaurant Association and the local group here. 185,000 restaurants nationwide gone. If we can't get control of this virus in the next 6 months, 350,000 of them are gone. Now, you may just think, well, that's just a place where I go get spaghetti. But that's really some place that pays people to raise families. They pay mortgages, they pay rent, they pay car payments, they pay insurance. But I know we're supposed to miraculously find the money on 50% occupancy here in the county, right? Is that fair? Is that how you want to live your lives? I don't. 40% of the dining public is not comfortable coming back, even if they lifted all of these mandates. Volume's down 35% from March to an estimated May of 2021. The average profit in a U.S. restaurant is less than 5%. That's at 100% occupancy. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. They become profitable at 75 to 80% of occupancy. Now, you do the math. Let's just say 80. If they can only occupy 40 or 50%, that's 40. Pretty heartless when you stop and think about that. They can't figure out how to mitigate, continue on, with masks, social distancing, the sterilization, don't touch your face. I get it. I think they're doing a good job. I go out, I see it happening, I see people wearing masks, I see people doing social distancing. Now, I'll say this, it's much more relaxed now, 221 days into it. Used to be when you go to the store, there was a counter at the door. There was somebody designated to wipe down the carts. You don't see that anymore. Where's the enforcement? Is it because they don't care? Or maybe they can't afford to pay someone to do that because they're limited on how many people they can employ. I just think it's sad that we're at this place that we can't stand up for our small businesses in this community. We have a responsibility to them too. And by the way, I just thought I'd ask him, how much was your utility bill last month running at 50%? He goes, oh, it's about the same, $4,700 a month. That's your utility bill. How many of you would like that bill? I talk to CSL all the time. I listen to the stories. I get to hear all of the heartache and the pain of these people that are coming in desperate for help. Where's the heart? Where's the compassion? Let me read you a couple, just so you know. I want to put a face to the names of the people that we're trying to talk about tonight. I'm a server. Our restaurant isn't at full capacity yet. We haven't been able to give anyone the shifts they need. They need help. I lost my job. Nowhere around me is hiring. I sincerely need help. I'm behind on all my bills. I received a warning letter on my door about if I don't pay my rent, I need to surrender my keys. I already have two $50 late fees. My rent of totaled $820, and I'm behind on my car payment. I'm just really anxious on losing my apartment as I have nowhere else to go. I'm a bad guy, aren't I? I deserve all that criticism for fighting for people that are desperate. I thought that was our job. We're a generous community, we're a great community, but right now I'm a little embarrassed. I really am. All I want to do, folks, is get the attention of our county to come and talk to us. You all just said, we had many speakers stand up here and say, oh, the coronavirus, we've got to rise. How? We're wearing the mask, we're doing the work, we're social distancing. It's not working. We have three options. We can continue the course, we can loosen it and let businesses start to pay their bills like you and I, or we can lock it all down, turn out the lights and throw away the key. Because I promise you, you go into that lockdown again, we'll have years of recovery. Mr. Sorensen, I understand, I respect your issues, but if we don't have tax revenue in this city, we're going to have a bigger problem when it comes to paying for our promises to retirees than increased insurance costs. We need to stand up for our small business community. I hope people will support it. I'm standing with small business tonight, and I hope my other council members will reconsider. Thank you.
Any further discussion?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
so Councilmember Steinmeier, I just want to say I really appreciate that, and it was very well said. I can't really follow it other than to say, since this mentions Jackson County, and I'm a full-time employee of Jackson County, I'm going to be abstaining on this.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none.
Hang on a second, Ms. Mayor.
Yes.
Madam Mayor, pardon me.
Yes.
I want to follow that up real quick. And Councilmember Steinmeier and I get along once in a while and don't get along once in a while. And I'm about to say something that's not going to have me get along with them. And then something that might. The way this resolution was drafted, the way I read it, this is not a getting your attention resolution. Not even close. This is a declaration of war, number one, on the county. Now, frankly, maybe they deserve it. It's not our place to do it, and we shouldn't be doing it in a resolution. Secondly, and I know they removed the legal stuff from it, but it's important for me to say, these civil rights violations, constitutional rights, these are private rights. I would recommend and support Councilmember Steinmeier if he can get these businesses together and they want to file a suit against the county, if they can come up with a cause of action, go for it. But that's your legal action. The City of Independence cannot represent individuals or individual businesses in lawsuits for alleged violations of civil rights. I know you dropped it, and I appreciate that. The final thing I wanted to say that we do disagree on is that you don't say the word mask in here, but it says urge the county health department to eliminate all restrictions. And at the top of the restrictions is masks, social distancing, a limit on number of people that can gather, rules that have been used against folks I care about, frankly, folks we all care about. I'm a small business person. My office isn't in Independence, but I live here and I work from everywhere. And I want to say one final thing. For the folks that made accusations against Mr. Steinmeier, I've had similar experiences, name-calling, accusations, personal accusations, assumptions. That part's not right. People shouldn't be doing that with each other. They do it with each other. We see it all the time, every day. Big, important people do it with each other all over the country. Mr. Steinmeier and I can disagree. We might not talk. We might be mad at each other. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to call him names, and he's not going to do the same to me. That's what makes government work. That's what's going to make our city work. So we all need to respect ourselves, regardless of where we fall in this or other things. We absolutely need to work together to get through this no matter what. Thank you.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, Councilman DeLucy.
I move the question.
Does that require a second, Madam City Clerk?
It does.
It does.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Madam City Clerk, please call the
What
roll.
was the motion? I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
To move the question, call for the vote.
Okay.
End discussion.
Thank you.
Okay. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Saff?
Yes.
Perkins?
No.
Stewart?
Abstain.
DeLucy?
Madam Mayor, I have a question for clarification.
Yes.
Are we voting on moving the question to stop discussion, or are we voting on the resolution?
Good point. Madam City Clerk?
You'll want to go ahead and do a roll call on moving the question.
Vote on the entire thing.
Moving the question.
Okay, so we need to vote to move the question?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. That was my error. Why don't we start again? The motion is to move the question. Now please call the roll.
Councilmember Saff?
Move the question.
To vote.
Okay.
To end discussion.
To end discussion.
All right, thank you. Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Perkins?
Yes.
Stewart?
Yes.
DeLucy?
Yes.
Steinmeier?
Yes.
Hobart?
Yes.
Mayor Weir?
Yes. Now will you please call the roll on 20794?
Councilmember Saff?
Yes.
Perkins?
No.
Stewart?
Abstain.
DeLucy?
No.
Steinmeier?
Yep.
Hobart?
No.
Mayor Weir?
No. Resolution fails. This brings us to our public hearings. Our first is a public hearing for an application received from Family Dollar Stores of Missouri, LLC, for an unlimited retailer of malt liquor and light wine with Sunday sales license for the Family Dollar Store number 22913, located at 17911 East US 24 Highway. This is a full public hearing. Mr. Scannell.
Yes, Mayor and members of the council. My name is Tom Scannell. I'm the Community Development Director. Family Dollar, which operates in the Arrowhead Shopping Center, they are seeking this liquor license. There are no hospitals, churches, or schools within this, within 300 feet. However, it is adjacent to residential, so it does require a 2/3 majority vote by the City Council. This liquor license is going to, would allow them to sell malt liquor and wine, and staff's available for any questions.
Okay, this is a full public hearing. Is there anyone present who wishes to speak in support of this application? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Are there any comments or questions from the council on the public hearing? Public hearing is closed. Madam City Clerk.
Council action is requested on the application for an unlimited retailer of malt liquor and light wine and Sunday sales license for the Family Dollar Store located at 17911 East US 24 Highway.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff,
Yes.
Perkins, Stewart,
Yes.
DeLucy,
Yes.
Steinmeier,
Yes.
Hobart,
Yes.
Mayor Weir.
Yes, item passes. Our next public hearing is for the application received from Happy Spirits Distributor LLC for a wholesale of intoxicating liquor license located at 17306 East US 24 Highway, Unit B. This is a full public hearing. Mr. Scannell.
Yes, Happy Spirits Distributor, they seek a wholesale license, so that is a license that is selling from business to business. There is no retail sales component associated with this. They are locating in a portion of the former GIHA building, and that concludes staff's presentation.
Okay, this is a full public hearing. Is there anyone present wishing to speak in support of this application? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Are there any comments or questions from the council on the public hearing?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
since this is an application from my wife, I'll be abstaining.
Okay, thank you very much. The public hearing is closed. Madam City Clerk.
Council action is requested regarding the application received from Happy Spirits Distributor LLC for a wholesale of intoxicating liquor license located at 17306 East US 24 Highway, Unit B.
Is there any discussion from the council on this item? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
DeLucy,
Yes.
Steinmeier,
Abstain.
Hobart,
Yes.
Mayor Weir.
Yes. Item passes. Congratulations. This brings us to our non-ordinance action item. Madam City Clerk.
Consideration of economic relief program to utility ratepayers.
Is there any discussion on this item?
Madam Mayor,
Yes, Councilmember DeLucy.
I think this is a bit premature to talk about directing the city manager to come up with a new program. I think in November, we're going to have a cash flow analysis of our utilities. Plus, I was thinking, we've got 2.3 million in CARES, 2.2 million in CARES money dedicated to utility assistance for the residents of the City of Independence. Only $750,000 has been programmed through Community Service League. So can we not amend this ordinance and expand the CARES money to apply to those small businesses, the hotels and the restaurants that are going to be getting a little bit of a break with our health permit fees? I mean, why don't we pay that $4,700 for the restaurateur that Mr. Steinmeier was talking about? I don't know that there's any restriction against using it for business. And I think I would like to amend the motion, amend the non-ordinance action item.
Okay, could you just state your amendment?
To allow the CARES funding of the $2.2 million that has already been dedicated through the Community Service League for utility assistance to apply towards those businesses identified in 20792, those businesses that will get the health permit reduction for the fees,
Okay.
and their restaurants and hotels.
Is there a motion on, or is there a second on the motion for the amendment?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Mr. City Manager, to my understanding of the CARES Act, there is no prohibition for us utilizing utility assistance funds for commercial purposes in addition to the residential that we've already approved. Moreover, there is still more CARES Act money that is available at the county that we may be able to hopefully go back and request additional funding. I think this is a nice addition to what we are trying to do in our community to help people through this difficult time. So unless you have a different understanding in answer to the Councilwoman's question, if there's any reason why we would not be able to do that?
Nope, it just has to be unbudgeted, unplanned expenses.
Okay, very good. Yes, Councilman Huff?
Yeah, it's amazing, when I brought this forth, that I had that all wound up and trusted some people that this is the way I was leaning, and I guess this is politics. I think elections around here were on transparency. I'm glad that we're doing that. My idea here was, number one, was that's why I was on that paperwork there, that to make sure that we had a legal right to do that if it was part of a way of getting around that. And then this other part of this was to continue on with not only these people, but I was looking more of a relief for all ratepayers in this city. We managed to take $25 million out of the coffers that I still believe is a charter violation. And so we have $25 million to give back 12 and a half. I think that that's why I set this thing up this way, is that I think that, we take care of the people that can't pay their bills, and I'm very compassionate, and I do agree. But we also have people out there that's right on the verge that actually work their tails off and make their payments and might miss a meal or something. And that's what this was coming about, that I would like to see that all ratepayers in this city receive a couple months worth of decreased on their electric, water, and sewer. Thank you.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, Councilman?
is this the economic relief program that the PUAB requested that we take under consideration? Is this?
Yeah, yes, it is. And I did ask, even though the PUAB minutes have not been approved, I did ask for copies, and I think they've been distributed, because I just wanted to read in their minutes what the intention was. So, yes.
So this committee asked us to consider doing this for the ratepayers.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, my question on this, and I certainly don't have any problem with it, is why this is being brought forth, Councilman, by the two of you and not by the PUAB. I'm assuming that's just a timing issue, that the PUAB was making this recommendation.
I think there was.
So I just kind of like to understand that.
Well,
Yeah.
I think there was some discussion in a couple of meetings ago about looking at sending something back to the PUAB, looking for several things, this being one of them.
Okay.
That committee got together and they voted, and to be consistent with the request tonight, I think we should listen to the committee.
Okay, that's fine. I just was, normally this would come to the council as a recommendation from the PUAB, but it really is not that big of a deal. Yes, Councilman Huff. I'm a little unclear. I'm reading the cover sheet, and explain to me, if you would not mind, the paperwork that you were referring to, or what you had requested.
Well, first of all, I've had this on the agenda since about April or May, and I know members of the PUAB have too. It's on their minds. There's plenty of money out there that goes with the charter, that any money over in the unrestricted funds should be refunded back to the ratepayers of this city.
Okay.
When I brought this forth after the PUAB meeting, after one of the members there pushed this and it did pass, then I decided to put this put this on there now, to have staff try to figure out what's a good program, what we can afford. We're not out here to bankrupt power and light, water and sewer, and send it back to staff and send it to the PUAB for them to decide to bring it back to us with a number or whatever's feasible.
So
That's the intent.
Oh, I apologize, I didn't mean to interrupt you. So this is not if I read the PUAB minutes, this is not a rate reduction, this is a one-time, what we're suggesting is if we can find a way to give people a rebate, some sort of, based out of our utility reserve funds and/or CARES Act money. Okay.
Right, well, you know, part of the problem around here is that, you know, rate reductions affect the general fund.
Yeah.
Charter clearly states that it's not two of the same kind, but to keep everything down, if we write a check, the general fund's already got their 10%. The ratepayers get their money, and I know the city managers already have enough time balancing budget here, and so this was a way of circumvent that part of it. It's like a co-op.
Mm-hmm.
It's my understanding that, Mr. City Manager, we're going to have an actual cash balance completed at some point for IPL.
We have a financial advisor for the utilities by the name of PFM who is completing a cash flow analysis and going to be presenting that on the 19th and at the PUAB meeting and also to the council. And I get my dates mixed up, but sometime in that same week to the city council, which should give us a better assessment of where each of those funds stand in the utilities and what we need to do as far as best practices and, you know, any excess reserves we have above or may have above or beyond should be a lot clearer within that next 30 days.
Okay. So my overall thought would be, and this is why I said yes on the amendment, we don't want to not spend our CARES Act money.
Correct. We want to spend it all and go get more.
That has to happen by December 30.
Correct.
If we can include small businesses now, table this bigger part until we know the actual economic impact, until after the 19th, so we can set an actual number to this. I'm very uncomfortable voting for a generalized thing like this without knowing the economic impact. I'd like to know exactly what dollars we're sending out.
Okay.
So, that's my
the way
thought.
I read it from the PUAB motion, which is being brought forward by the councilman, is that this is directing that we come up with a plan. I don't feel that it's committing us to any dollar amount. We're not saying you're going to get a month's worth or 2 months worth. I mean, you know, it's, but I think I certainly support that we need to explore every avenue that we can to give people in our community who are struggling financially. You know, if we have the money, then that's what we should do with it. So I'm not uncomfortable with the language that just says, you know, let's impart a sense of urgency to have the city manager come up with a plan that can be brought back to the PUAB and ultimately the council, understanding that we have to base that on what this economic report says that we're getting in a few weeks.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I believe my motion to amend to allow the CARES Act money already budgeted to be expanded has been seconded. So
Okay.
I call that,
Okay,
I'd like to
let's
vote on that amendment.
If we could vote on the amendment, then we'll vote on the item. Madam City Clerk, if you would please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff,
Yes.
Perkins.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
DeLucy.
Yes.
Steinmeier.
Yes.
Hobart.
Yes.
Mayor Ware.
Yes. Okay. I lost track of where we were. Okay, non-ordinance action item. Is there any further discussion on the item as amended? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff,
Yes.
Perkins.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
DeLucy.
Yes.
Steinmeier.
Yes.
Hobart.
Yes.
Mayor Ware.
Yes. Item passes. This takes us to our ordinances. Madam City Clerk.
Bill number 20-075, an ordinance authorizing a contract with Public Water Supply District Number 2 of Jackson County, Missouri for the City of Independence, Missouri to supply water to them. Second and final reading.
Is there any discussion on this bill? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff.
Yep.
Perkins.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
DeLucy.
Yes.
Steinmeier.
Yes.
Hobart.
Yes.
Mayor Ware.
Yes. Ordinance passes.
Bill number 20-077, an ordinance adopting amendments to the fiscal year 2019 to 2020 budget, which was approved by ordinance number 19017. Second and final reading.
Is there any discussion on this bill? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff.
Yes.
Perkins.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
DeLucy.
Yes.
Steinmeier.
Yes.
Hobart.
Yes.
Mayor Ware.
Yes. Ordinance passes.
Bill number 20-078, an ordinance adopting amendments to the fiscal year 2020 to the 2021 budget, which was approved by ordinance number 19131. Second and final reading.
Is there any discussion on this bill? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff.
Yes.
Perkins.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
DeLucy.
Yes.
Steinmeier.
Yes.
Hobart.
Yes.
Mayor Ware.
Yes. Ordinance passes.
Bill number 20-079, an ordinance authorizing a contract with the Department of Justice for a grant award for the 2020 improving criminal justice responses to domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, and stalking grant program in the amount of $750,000, appropriating the necessary funds in the Police Department and Finance and Administration Department operating budgets, authorizing future change orders for the same project, appropriating the necessary funds. Second and final reading.
Is there any discussion on this bill? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff.
Yes.
Perkins.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
DeLucy.
Yes.
Steinmeier.
Yes.
Hobart.
Yes.
Mayor Ware.
Yes. Ordinance passes.
Bill number 20-080, an ordinance repealing ordinance number 18883 passed on May 21st, 2018 by the City Council. Second and final reading.
Is there any discussion on this bill? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff.
Yes.
Perkins.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
DeLucy.
Yes.
Steinmeier.
Yes.
Hobart.
Yes.
Mayor Ware.
Yes. Ordinance passes. This takes us to our first readings. We do have one emergency this evening that will require 2/3 majority vote. Madam City Clerk.
Bill number 20-081, an ordinance authorizing and directing the city manager to execute a certain contract for the sale of real estate in exchange for payment of $84,000 for land designated as city surplus property on Perry Road, and to do all the things necessary to consummate said sale. Bill number 20-082, an ordinance authorizing a contract with Pyramid Excavation and Construction, Inc. in the amount of $963,867 for the installation of pipe and water main on Walnut Street from Leslie Avenue to Lee Summit Road, appropriating $230,259 from the Water Department's unreserved retained earnings to the capital account number 704020004, and authorizing future minor change orders not to exceed $96,387 and/or time extensions. Bill number 20-511, an ordinance authorizing the borrowing of not to exceed $12 million from the Missouri Development Finance Board to refinance the cost of projects related to the city's electric utility, authorizing the continued lease of certain equipment by the city, approving the form of and authorizing the execution of a first supplemental base lease and a first supplemental lease purchase agreement with the Missouri Development Finance Board, prescribing other matters relating thereto and declaring an emergency. Bill number 20-511, an ordinance authorizing the borrowing of not to exceed $12 million from the Missouri Development Finance Board to refinance the cost of projects related to the city's electric utility, authorizing the continued lease of certain equipment by the city, approving the form of and authorizing the execution of a first supplemental base lease and a first supplemental lease purchase agreement with the Missouri Development Finance Board, prescribing other matters relating thereto, and declaring an emergency. Second and final reading.
Is there any discussion on this bill?
I have a
Yes,
question.
Councilman Huff.
Yes.
Just a moment, I'm sorry.
Once again, why is this an emergency? Did it just come about all of a sudden? That it's an emergency? And what's the repercussions if it's voted down?
Yeah, good question, Councilmember. This was the item that was before the council, a month or month and a half ago, where we were discussing the 2010 series debt bond for Independence Power and Light, and had a pretty robust discussion that night about proceeding forward with that, and then committed that we'd be back right when it was time to go to market. The reason we were seeking some emergency authority from the council tonight, we would want to be able to go to market on the best, most advantageous day to capture the best interest rate that we possibly can. So if authorized, every day Mr. Kidney would call our financial advisors, find out what the market's looking like that day. Otherwise, it takes, we'll have 2 more weeks till our next meeting and then 10 days for the ordinance. So you're really looking at close to 17 days after that. 2 weeks from tomorrow, there's an election, and a lot of folks are uncertain about the market volatility one way or another that may unfold after that election. So we're really hoping to get this wrapped up within the next 14 days so that we don't get caught up in that market uncertainty that may come about after the election.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Steinmeier?
No,
That was your question? Okay, very good. Any further discussion?
I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Mr. City Manager.
Sir.
I've gotten a small amount of feedback on this, oddly enough, but if we do this and it's refinancing a debt,
Yes, sir.
existing debt,
Correct.
there was some talk at that last council meeting about paying off this debt instead of refinancing it.
Correct.
If we approve this tonight and we get your cash report in November, we could still pay off the debt without a penalty?
We've got this issue and several more to come in early 2021. So we've got a lot of debt issuances to look at. And if that cash report shows that we have the ability to do so, we'll be back here in front of the council seeking your authority to pay off some of these bonds with cash on hand instead of continuing to pay monthly payments and the interest that's associated with them.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
DeLucy,
Yes.
Steinmeier,
Yes.
Hobart,
Yes.
Mayor Weir.
Yes, ordinance passes. Okay, this brings us to our council member comments. I'll start on my left with Councilman Hobart.
I would just like to let the city clerk and the city manager know I very much appreciate Mr. Welchert and Mr. Sorensen's comments tonight, and expect to see some sort of whatever it's supposed to look like non-ordinance action item for them to have an in-person meeting. We're missing the 21st, and that's why I asked about this last week. I'm going to intend to have that on the docket.
I don't mean to interrupt you. Can I ask a question regarding that? I know this is something that we have been working on, is trying to accommodate an in-person meeting. I know the meeting has to be posted, of course, and I presume it's been posted as a virtual meeting. But are we making, I know this is something, Mr. City Manager, you and I have discussed, is there a way that we can have that meeting as a hybrid? I mean, all meetings have to be hybrid. There's no option at this point to have an entirely in-person meeting without a hybrid option for those who cannot attend or are not able to attend or choose not to attend. But I know this is something that we've been discussing and trying to find a way to accommodate that. Is that still a possibility for the meeting on the 21st?
It is, and in fact, on the 14th, Adam Norris emailed one of the Staywell Committee co-chairs informing him that they had the authority to have an in-person meeting.
Right.
The committee co-chair responded that because he'd already posted the meeting, he didn't, even though it was still 7 days away, he didn't want to change that, and also
Okay.
believed he was not going to be coming to any decisions that day and would rather move forward with a in-person/hybrid meeting for October 28th. So staff made very clear they were allowed to have an in-person or hybrid meeting. They elected not to. There is a retiree representative on that committee, and maybe that person could weigh in a little heavier next time.
Okay, okay. I just want, because I just didn't think it was that, I mean, we've been working on it for a little while to
Right.
try to find a place to have that we could do it safely, and I didn't think it was that difficult. So
Correct.
I just want to make sure that we were on the same page there. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
I appreciate that, Madam Mayor and Mr. City Manager. If there's a way for us legally and fairly to force an in-person meeting, I intend to figure that out this week and do it. We've got people that it's important to that come to this meeting. We're in public, in person. We've got the key city people in this room that have come to this meeting in person. If other people want to opt out, that's their business, but the only reason loggers got a deal done for their insurance last year was because these guys sat in a room and looked at these people. I stood up for masks, I stood up for distancing, and I mean that. They can stand 6 feet away from these people with masks on and look them in the eye nonetheless. And I will absolutely do whatever it takes in my power to make that happen as soon as possible. I just want to make that very clear. This is very important. Thank you.
Okay, agreed. So the 21st meeting can happen as a hybrid if they choose, but they chose not to do that. But the 28th meeting, that can happen. Or they can change their mind and have the 21st meeting.
We're still 20 within that, outside that 24-hour range, so they can
Yeah,
still change
I mean, that can
right.
still happen
And-
if that's what they choose
correct.
to
And
do.
my staff's
I mean,
prepared to meet wherever.
did what I was requested to do was to allow for that to happen. So now it's, up to the committee to choose to utilize that option. So I hope that helps. And I mean, as I said, all meetings we have to offer that hybrid option for people who, for whatever reason are not able to attend in person. But I would say, we can get this worked out in the, tomorrow and make those accommodations available if that's what they choose. Councilman Steinmeier.
A very good friend of mine said one time that communication does not always equal understanding. In a COVID world, technology is not our friend. And when you're trying to make life decisions and budget decisions, we need to respect the need for accommodating beyond what some may be comfortable with, to allow our retirees to figure out what their needs are. And I would expect our city to comply with their request and figure something out.
Councilmember DeLucy.
Nothing, thank you.
Councilman Huff.
Yes, Mr. City Manager, I was wondering how we was coming with recruitment of officers. I understand we're down 20 and looking for 10 more to leave by the first of the year. I'm still advocating that we figure out a bonus program or something to get these people in here. We have to offer them a little bit more to get them in here. It's not, everything's kind of even on this police pay and benefits. We're going to have to figure out something because we can't run this city with 30 less officers. We can't make it now the way it is. So hoping that you're looking into that and trying to figure out some kind of strategy to get some people hired around here, because public safety is number one in my books.
A lot of these compensation issues are subject to collective bargaining, and FOP has given us their notice that they'd like to re-engage in that, and we're looking forward to having that conversation with them, understanding that importance of what you just said, council member, certainly.
Thank you.
Councilman Perkins.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I don't think I've ever done this. Got kind of a slideshow
Is
this
this yours?
evening. So last Saturday, there was a community organization, community group that got together, led by Jane Sanders, who got together at 8th Street in Ash, down by the old railroad bridge, to clean up the 2 vacant lots that are there. There were about 20 people that showed up, and city staff that showed up. The Doug and Peggy Alt showed up. Jane and her boys showed up. Individuals from the neighborhood popped in. Zach, our city manager, was there. Becky, our city clerk, who doesn't live too terribly far down the street, was there. Our assistant city manager, Adam Norris, was there. And I learned that Dan Montgomery can run a hell of a weed eater. That was very impressive. But
So that's some of the stuff that we picked up there. Our city crews came up later this afternoon to pick up all the trash and the woods and the debris. And I thought, sorry, I don't have a better view of the cleanup, but that gives you a good idea of just how much stuff that we cleaned out right there. So that was last Saturday, a little bit breezy, but it was good to get the neighborhood together. So 2 Saturdays ago, this is Liberty Lounge. This is a good aerial view of that. And about 2 months ago, the Independence Square Association applied for, and they won a grant to help use these spaces that are underutilized, and were able to apply and win a grant that allowed this space to be more utilized a couple Saturdays ago. It was a beautiful Saturday. A couple weddings that were going on over there on the square. The Kansas City Symphony, some members of the Kansas City Symphony were there performing. It was just a beautiful evening. I mean, this is just a great way to show that the square is still alive and kicking. There was people out there eating in the outside eateries and having a good time. So despite the COVID stuff, we're all supporting local businesses and everybody's getting out. And this is a prime example of what kind of life that we can have on the Independence Square when we pool our resources and get our community pride together. So that's all I have tonight, Mayor.
Okay, thank you very much. Councilman Stewart.
Nothing tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. A couple things that I wanted to share, and certainly not to belabor the point of the county order. I just, it's been very complex since March of all of the agencies, municipalities that have come together to try to have a coordinated regional response to COVID-19. And it's extraordinarily complex, all of the things that have to be considered that have been created for our community over a period of decades about how we respond to a pandemic, and in a more broad sense to any kind of emergency. Certainly when people began, cities, the state, the federal government started declaring states of emergency in mid-March, I don't think anybody thought that 7 months later we would still be under a state of emergency, and there doesn't appear to be any end in sight for the time being. So it's a very messy process to coordinate with all of our surrounding cities and surrounding counties and 2 states. And it's just something that is ongoing, and that we as a city are continuing to participate in those discussions. And, you know, this says circumstances, and certainly the way that our United States Congress has chosen to allocate the CARES Act money, you know, gives certain authorities to certain jurisdictions. And in this case, much of that authority is with the county. So, you know, it's been a complex thing to try to understand. It's not perfect. I mean, there's certainly things that we would rather see differently. And, you know, I hope that those conversations can continue to take place. I did participate today in a call that was organized by the U.S. Conference of Mayors, and, you know, serendipitously, the conversation was about what do you do to support your restaurants with the winter approaching. And there were several mayors from across the country who were the panelists on that call, some from warm climates, some from cold climates. And many of the things that were recommended, there was also a gentleman who is the president of the National Restaurant Association, and he himself is a former mayor, so he had an interesting perspective. And The good news is that many of the things that are recommended, we have already done in Independence. There were some other ideas that we might want to consider. And every community is different. Some communities have a lot of independently owned restaurants. Some are, their restaurant scene is really more national chains, and obviously those have different challenges and different opportunities. I did reach out to some of our local restaurant owners following that call to see if we could bring together a group to advise us. And, you know, I think the best advice that we can take is let's not presume we know what they need, but, you know, continue to have those dialogues and ask them what things we can be doing to help and support them. So I'm eager for that conversation to continue. We all want our citizens to be safe. We all want our businesses to survive and thrive in our city. And so these are important conversations, and we will continue to have them. That's all I have this evening. Mr. City Manager, anything else this evening?
Nothing tonight. Thank you all.
We are adjourned.